Hi everybody, welcome back to One Book or Novel at a Time. I will continue to read to you Goosebumps Most Wanted, Book 1. The title, Planet of the Lawn of the Gnomes. Here for you. I'm about to start with Chapter 7. If you are barely tuning in to One Book or Novel at a Time, make sure you scroll down the videos and you'll find chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I'm about to start Chapter 7. Chapter 7 starts like this. No! I cried out, and I leaned forward, forced myself to move through the muck, reach out my arms, stretch my arms over the surface, and with a burst of strength, I bent down and plunged both hands into the wet sand, deeper, until I felt something. Yes, Elliot's head. I grabbed his head with both hands and tugged, panting hard. I tugged with all my might. I pulled him by his hair, pulled hard, pulled his head up over the surface. His eyes were closed. He made a choking sound. His mouth opened and he spewed an orange spray of thick gunk. Elliot! Elliot! Without realizing it, I kept repeating his name. He opened his eyes. He shook his head. His hair was thick with the orange sand. He had it caked in his nose. I'm okay, he said in a hoarse whisper. He shook his head again. He coughed up some more gunk. I grabbed him under the shoulders and pulled hard. He came sliding up higher. We put our hands around each other's waist. Working together, we struggled to the edge of the quagmire. We dove onto the small patch of grass at the end of the street. We lay there for a couple of minutes, breathing, not speaking. Then we slowly climbed to our feet. It felt so awesome to stand on solid ground again. I started up to wipe the gobs of wet sand off, but I stopped when I saw the legs of my jeans. They were covered with rips and tears and bite marks. Something caught my eye. I turned back towards the quagmire. I saw two large fish with teeth and white fins and legs, leap up from the sand. I slapped Elliot on the shoulder. Look! Another pale green fish jumped over the surface. It had frog-like legs and jagged, spiky teeth. I never saw a fish like that, I stammered. Why didn't you tell me this place is dangerous? Elliot wiped sand from his hair. I didn't tell you to ride your bike right into it, he said. But it's a quagmire, he said. Don't you know what a quagmire is? Didn't you study about them? We had it in first grade. It's in all the beginner geography classes. Huh? Not in mine, I exclaimed. And those gross biting fish? They kept biting and... I stopped as a dark shadow rolled quickly over me. I raised my eyes and saw a huge creature overhead, bigger than a swan, black with big outstretched wings. It lowered its narrow head as it came diving down at us. Look out! I cried. Dog! Elliot screamed. Hit the ground! That is the end of chapter 7. Let's see what chapter 8 will bring to us. Chapter 8. I dropped flat onto my stomach and covered my head. I felt a strong whoosh of wind as the huge bird creature swooped over us. Twisting my neck, I glanced up. There were two of them, enormous birds, flapping noisily above Elliot and me, preparing to dive again. Get flat! Get flat! Elliot cried in a hoarse whisper. What are they? I cried. They're buzzer hawks. Huh? They're so huge. They... Get flat, he ordered. As flat as you can. Why? I demanded. Because they're blind. I heard them squawking angrily above us. Their shadows rolled over us again. Buzzer hawks are blind? They can't see, but they can smell you, Elliot whispered. They can smell fear. We both were spread out on our stomachs. I buried my face in the grass. I held my breath as I heard the enormous creature swoop down on us again. Oh! I couldn't help it. I let out a moan as I felt sharp talons scrape down the back of my shirt. Pain shot through my whole body. I started to crawl into a ball. Don't move, Elliot warned. I felt his hand on my shoulder. They haven't smelled us down here yet. If they did... He didn't finish. The birds made another dive. I buried my face in the dirt and held my breath. Every muscle in my body tightened. Another whoosh of wind swept over me as the birds swooped inches over us. It took only a second or two, but it seemed like an hour. Frozen in fright, I didn't move. I felt the wind off their wings, then silence. After a long while, I slowly, carefully lifted my head. Yes! The buzzer hawks had flown away. I stood up, but my legs were so shaky. I could barely balance myself. Close one, I said. Elliot nodded. His eyes were still white with fright. They must have heard us when we were in the quagmire. Dangerous birds. Their claws are deadly. I mean, really. You mean they've clawed us? I asked. Clawed us? They eat us, Elliot replied. They're meat eaters. I shuddered. Let's get out of here. I don't like this place. Elliot started to spike. It's not bad if you keep alert. How can you keep alert against fish that chew your jeans off and birds that can rip you to pieces? He didn't answer. He picked up his bike and climbed onto it. I'm in trouble, I murmured. I'm already in big trouble because of a thing I did to our neighborhood. And now I've lost my bike? And no way Mom and Dad will believe me if I tell them it's at the bottom of a quagmire. But it's the truth, Elliot said. I could back up your story. Don't believe me. Maybe, I said. As I walked home, Elliot rode beside me, circling me, riding up a ways, then back. I didn't want to think about how we almost drowned in the quagmire. I didn't want to think about anything that happened there, so I decided to count lawn gnomes as I walked. They were perched on every lawn, posted near driveways, leaning against tree trunks. Ugly little bearded fellows in red outfits and those funny caps. Totally weird. I counted 32 of them, and I was still a few blocks from home. Most of them stared straight out to the street as if they were watching us pass by with their big blank painted eyes. In my old neighborhood, no one had lawn gnomes, I told Elliot. We thought they were too ugly to put on front lawns. I don't get it. Really, why are these stupid little men everywhere I look? He spun his bike around. I've got to go. This is my street, he pointed. Do you know the rest of the way? I nodded. Yeah, sure. Well, see you around, he said. Thanks for saving my life. He started to pedal away. Sorry about your bike, he called. Yeah, me too, I said. I watched him ride down the street. He turned into the driveway of a little yellow and white house at the end of the block. I turned and started walking slowly towards my house. The sun was nearly down. The sky was streaked with red. Lawn gnomes stared at me from front yards as I passed, but I didn't feel like counting anymore. I was worried about my lost bike. I promised my parents I'd be more responsible in our new neighborhood, and here I was, coming home without a bike. I sighed. Maybe they won't notice, I told myself. I turned at my house and walked up the front lawn. To my surprise, 2 lawn gnomes stood on the front porch. Who moved them? I wondered. I climbed onto the porch, stepped past the ugly little gnomes, and started to open the front door. Jay, where is your bike? One of them demanded. And that is the end of chapter 8. Just want to say, it's getting good, right? So tune in to the next chapter, chapter 9, to one book or novel at a time. I hope you're enjoying listening as I read aloud this awesome story to you. And remember, everybody's a reader. Some of you haven't found that right book. What if this is the right book for you? What if this is the right series for you? More than one book, right? So continue listening, enjoy, and thank you once again for being a follower of one book or novel at a time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I suggest you do. You're not going to regret it. Have an awesome day.